In this video, I'm going to talk about the Shure Beta 58A and whether or not it makes a difference if it's made in Mexico or China. The reason for this video is that about 2 or 3 years ago, I actually purchased the Shure Beta 57A from 2 different stores and noticed that one was a counterfeit, but it charged me basically the same amount of money as if I would buy a new one. This is something that I think is absolutely not cool. Contrast to, for example, creating a microphone that is mimicking a microphone, but you're selling it under a new name, that's a different story. But trying to charge the same price for a counterfeit is just not right. But in this case, these 2 microphones are actually made by Shure. One is in the factory in Mexico and one is made in the factory in China. And I'm going to show you a couple of the detailed shots of this, what differences you can expect, but you can also check on the website that Shure is actually manufacturing in both of those countries, so that is not something to be worried about. But I think that it's still interesting to look and see what kind of details you might have to expect depending on which one you get. Now, first up, of course, the microphones look pretty much identical. There's just one tiny differentiation, and that is that on the microphone from Mexico, they have it also stamped at the bottom right here on the ring where you plug the XLR cord in. This is something that the China version does not have at all. Then if we take the microphone apart a little bit and screw off the capsule, and this is something that revealed the fakeness of my last year's adventure a little clearly, then you will notice that in this case, you also get the same color of the microphone cable. In this case, you have the yellow and green, and this is kind of like a staple of Shure microphones that they don't use red and white or something like that. Inside of here, it is always yellow and green. Other than that, you have smaller differences, like for example, in this case here, this kind of protective shield on top is reversed compared to this one. So this looks wider, but I think in actuality it's just the other way around. And here you have the black part outside and the white part inside. When you look at the microphones from the front, this is how they look. Pretty much identical again. Maybe the foam is a little bit different between these two when I look very detailed, but I think that might also just be a fact of manufacturing differences over the course of a certain timeline. Then of course you have the emblem right here, the logo, the Shure Beta 58A naming, and also here it is pretty much identical what you would expect. Then when I take the grills and look in the inside of those two, they are pretty much identical. Again, the only difference may be that you might notice a bit of a difference between these 2 grills in terms of the foam that is used. But again, this can also be due to just manufacturing differences in, for example, the date or the manufacturing year that these are made in. Now, next up, let's look at the packaging. And what you can see here is that the quality of the print and the font and all of those things, the colors, it's all exactly the same, which is not the case with fakes or counterfeits. Those oftentimes have a similar look, but sometimes it's slightly different, especially with the quality of the print also not being as high. This is the same thing if you go on the reverse and turn it around. Again, if you look at these 2 side by side, you can see that the quality is identical, and that is of course also to be expected. One thing where you will again notice the difference is when you put these side by side on the labeling here on this side. And there you can see a couple of differences, but mostly nothing too major. The most important, of course, being that you will find on one that it's made in Mexico and the other one will state that it is made in China. These 2 also are made in different years, so that's another difference. But other than that, you will not find much of a difference. And the same thing can, of course, also be said for the packaging inside. So when I open these up, you will find that you have a paperwork. So you have a booklet about the microphone. Then you also have the Shure kind of cable tie. Then you have, of course, the bubble wrap that the microphone comes in. And in this case, the Mexican one actually also had another kind of packaging around the microphone inside of the bubble wrap. However, this may also be due to simply the microphone already having been shipped out, the other one, and the wrap was removed in that point. But then we have this wrap, which was around the microphone holder, and that one is already on one of my mounts, so nothing special there. Both of them have a screw, so the adapter screw for the microphone holder, so that you can make sure that it fits on your microphone. Of course, as I've mentioned, the microphone holder for the stand. However, the other one I'm already using in one of my stands. Then you have the kind of the bag. So you have one here and then you have another one here. Again, the quality is slightly different on these two, but I think that is simply just due to manufacturing differences over the years. And then you can see a bit more paperwork as well as the sticker from Shure and those things, as well as the alignment guide for the speakers and whatnot. So overall, in terms of packaging and all of that, these two microphones are just absolutely identical, except for manufacturing differences over the years. Now I'm going to also give you a bit of a speech test. So this is me talking into the Shure Beta 58A from the front. This is the one made in Mexico, and it is absolutely identical to the Shure Beta 58A from China. This is when I talk directly into the front of the microphone, and now as I turn this onto the side, this is at 90 degrees, and of course we are also going to go back to the back. So this is me speaking into the Shure Beta 58A from China. And now I'm going back to the Shure Beta 58A from Mexico. This is as it sounds from the front. Now I twist it to the 90-degree angle, and here you have the sound of this microphone from 90 degrees. And all the way in the back, this is how the Shure Beta 58A from Mexico sounds. And now as I put them side by side for the end of the video, you can judge for yourself if they are actually the same as I am switching back and forth between these two microphones. Again, make sure that you're not getting a counterfeit. Buying a Shure product or a Shure microphone that is extremely cheap so that you can't basically believe that it is that cheap, for example, on platforms like eBay or others, then I would say either you go with that microphone into a store to confirm whether or not it is an original and check whether or not it is the exact same to others, or you go with an authorized reseller like, for example, in Germany or Europe, Thomann. Now, I of course have links in the description down below where you can purchase these microphones. Additionally, I also have a link to a video where I compared this microphone to two other microphones, the Shure SM58 and the Behringer BA85A. Those microphones are significantly less expensive than the Shure Beta 58A, and maybe they are the right choice for you. Now, with all that said, I hope this video was helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if it was, and I hope to see you in one of my other videos. Ciao, ciao!